Hello and welcome to episode 111 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is September 27th. It's quite funny to have episode 111 or 11-1. Okay, just for fun. Today I am wearing something new and something old. So maybe some will have glimpsed that I'm wearing my new Carnaby crochet long jacket, but I'll start with the shawl as usual. This is a very old one. It's a design by Romy, one of my favorite designers on Ravelry, and this was part of her first ebook with 7 small shawls. I don't know how I came across it back then, but I think I learned about it right when she was publishing it, or maybe she had. Usually with her ebooks, you buy the ebook and then you get one pattern after the other in a certain time. And I bought the ebook before all the patterns were released. And this was one of the first ones I knit. Maybe it was the very first one, I don't remember. I checked and I haven't put a date in Ravelry when I knit this shawl. I think I only put it into Ravelry after I'd finished it, so I wasn't quite sure when exactly I had started and finished, but it must be almost 10 years old. The pattern itself, I think, is 11 years old, and I created the page 9 years ago. So, the shawl must be at least 9, maybe 10 years old, maybe even 11, I don't know. The pattern is called Celaeno. And I used Regia sock yarn that was called Hand Dye Effect. I think it's a very nice yarn for shawls and other accessories. I don't think it's a very good sock yarn because it's too soft basically, and it pills easily as if you wear it as a sock. So I will recommend making other things than socks with this sock yarn. But I love the colors. It's a pattern with beads, and back then this was a cooperation between my sister and myself. She knit the easy part and I knit the lace pattern, and originally the plan was that she would knit the easy part twice and I would knit the lace pattern twice, but after she'd finished knitting both the garter triangles, she was curious to try and do the lace pattern herself, and she did. No problem. Just needed a little bit of help how to read the charts and everything, but she picked it up really quickly, and I think today she has no problems reading charts and knitting her own lace patterns. Yeah, so that's the little shawlette Celaeno by Romy. I love her little shawls and also the big shawls. I've bought most of her ebooks. I think the only one that I didn't buy was the one where she cooperated with American yarn dyers, and I knew I wasn't going to get the yarns, so I didn't buy the whole ebook. And I thought if I wanted to have one single pattern, I can still buy it as a single pattern. And I don't think I have, because I have so many of her patterns that I haven't knit yet, so I think I should knit them first. But now to my new Carnaby crochet along jacket out of cotton and in different colors than the original. Usually I present my finished objects first as a finished object and then I wear them, but as this jacket has already been finished for more than 2 weeks, I thought I could just wear it today and show it off to you on me. Jackets always look better worn than just on a hanger anyway, I think. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. The pattern, the original pattern has this worked as a jumper, so you would sew this seam together. I didn't, I just left it open. I'm still planning on attaching buttons, but I haven't done that yet. And otherwise I'm really, really happy. I did manage to finish it before I went on holiday. I don't think I wore it on holiday because it was too warm. I only wore it last night on the way home, but I had it with me and I could have worn it if it had gotten colder. I used Catania, cotton by Schachenmeier. As you can see, There's no neon colors, but different blues and a purple, and yeah, not much else to say about it. I love it. I'm really happy, and this is my second version of the Carnaby crochet along. The first version I crocheted out of sock yarn, DK weight sock yarn, in neon colors, almost exactly like the original. And this was my second version, and yeah, really happy to have that finished. Okay, so that was my first finished object for today, and I have 4 more. It's really crazy to have so many finished objects, but that's because on holiday I took mostly small projects, so I wouldn't have too much luggage, and so it's fairly easy to get them finished, and yeah, I'll talk about the other things later. Now, most of the finished objects are socks, of course, and my last proper episode I had 3 single socks that were finished, and I managed to finish the second socks of all 3 pairs. So all these pairs, I showed you 1 sock last time, and now the second ones are done. So these are the socks for my husband, a late birthday present for him. I used rainforest yarn, a rainforest series by Opal, and the color name has Sven in its name, so that's why they're going to my husband, because that's his name. And I didn't use a pattern, I just knit a 2x2 rib, and then I gradually changed to stockinette on the back of the leg, and then just very simply finished them off, because my husband's not too keen on patterns in his socks. I mean, he wouldn't mind if I put a pattern in, but as he doesn't care, I thought I'll just make him fairly simple. So that's the first pair. And then I finished the spiral socks out of alpaca yarn for my mother-in-law. This is a pure baby alpaca, so I do not recommend it to use it for socks that you want to actually walk in or wear in shoes, but these are supposed to be bed socks or sofa socks. And these, I put them on a sock blocker to show that they're actually socks, even though I just knit a tube. And just to show, I put them on different sock blockers just for fun. So as you can see, if I put the heels on top of each other, oops, there you can see the heels. So this is a bigger size foot. So the leg is a bit shorter, and this has a smaller foot, so the leg is a bit longer. But any size that can fit their foot inside the sock can wear these socks. And I usually, with my spiral socks, I always knit my favorite toe, which is in German it's called a star toe, but it's a symmetrical toe, so you can put the socks on any which way and they'll always be fine. So that's the second pair, and then the third pair are these pink socks. The pattern are the Rome socks by Mina Phillip, the knitting expat, and it's out of her ebook Around the World in 8 Socks. I chose to put the pattern just on the front of the foot, and I knit a 1x1 rib in the back of the leg, and I continued the rib into the Fish Lips Kiss heel just for fun. Yeah, and these are for a friend of my mother-in-law's. She wanted pink socks, so this is what she's getting. Yeah, so finished a lot of socks, but I also started, if you've seen the special video that came out during my holiday, you've seen that I started one of the bonus patterns from the Sockmadness, and I finished the first of that pair of socks. So that's the Ma Bon Mon socks by Eva Romain. Not quite sure how to pronounce that. That was a bonus pattern in the Sockmadness. It's a pattern with beads. I think you can see them. The leg was supposed to be twice as long, but I don't like my socks too long if there aren't more stitches in the top of the sock. So I only knit this repeat once, and then there's the this special heel. Can't remember what it's called. I usually don't like those heels too much because they tend to be too big, but as this sock has fewer stitches than most socks, it actually fits really well. Originally I planned to knit the socks for myself, but now I'm thinking I might give them to one of my cousin's daughters because I think at the moment she has my shoe size and I know that she likes blue. I might give them to her and tell her to give them back to me once she's grown out of them because I think she's still gross. Yeah, but I'm really happy. I like the pattern. I like the way the pattern comes to a stop here, and you can knit the foot as long as you need. I put my favorite toe in. It's not in the pattern. And it's the Beauty series from Opal. It's a very soft and very beautiful yarn. Really happy with that. So finished that. I haven't started the second one because I only finished it yesterday and I didn't have the time to start the second sock, but I'll make sure I'll do that really quickly. And I started, on my holidays, I started a new pair of socks, and that's something I was looking forward to. And the thing is that after knitting the spiral socks out of the DK weight alpaca yarn, my sister was really interested to have a pair like this because she likes to hike and she likes to camp and sleep in her tent. And as she tends to get cold feet, she thought it might be nice to have alpaca socks when she's in her tent. But I know that she's really trying to carry around as little luggage as possible when she's hiking. So I thought if I don't use the DK weight yarn, but use a thinner alpaca yarn, maybe she could have lighter socks that are still warm. So I thought of the lace yarn that Hansa Farm make, but then I thought that's maybe too thin and the sock might wear out even if she doesn't walk around in it. And I decided to hold it double with a mohair silk yarn by Hansa Farm, and I thought together they might be about a sock weight yarn, and I decided to try that. So I used one strand of pure alpaca lace yarn and one strand of mohair silk yarn. I cast on 60 stitches on a 2.75mm needle, and I'm knitting another spiral sock, and this is what it looks like. And at first I was a bit worried it might be too big. I thought maybe with the mohair, I was a bit worried it wouldn't, there wouldn't be any stretch in it and it might be too loose and too big. But now that I've continued knitting, I'm really happy with the stretch. So you can see it doesn't look big at all. But if I put my hand in, it fits nicely and it's roomy enough, but it's also, stretchy in a way that it will stay on the foot, I think. So I've knit quite a bit. With the fuzzy yarn, it's a bit more difficult to count the rows and to make sure that the knit 3 purl 3 pattern stays in place, but I think I managed most of the time. I'm using the Xiaogu mini circular needle. I'm really happy with that as well. One of my friend's stitch markers that she gave me. Yeah, so this is that was an experiment, but I really think it's working out really nicely. My sister hasn't seen the sock yet. I'll show it to her later when I meet her, and I hope she'll be as happy as I am. And I think it's quite interesting to see how those two different colors come together to make a completely new color. Yeah, really happy with those. But that means I only have... No, I don't have just 2 pairs of socks on the needle. I have another pair of socks on the needle. I'm still knitting the Madeline socks from the Sockmadness, so that's 3 pairs of socks. But I still felt I've finished so many socks I can cast on new socks. And some of you may know that every year I knit a sock couple that I give away as a Christmas present at Christmas. And I haven't started those 2 pairs of socks yet this year. and I decided to use 2 colors out of the Schafpate series. That's yarn from German Sheep that was produced completely in Germany, and I usually pick 2 colors from one series to give to them. I always plan to send them the socks with the ball band so they know what yarn I use. I usually forget. Maybe this year I'll try and remember. But yeah, so these are the 2 colors that I want to knit. These are going to be for her and these are going to be for him. And I'm going to knit another pattern by Mina Philipp out of her Around the World in 8 Socks ebook, and I want to knit the Dubai socks with for these socks. I always use the same pattern for both pairs. Yeah, that's the plan. So these are going to be the next socks that I will cast on. Oh, I forgot a finished object. I'm already talking about my works in progress and I forgot my finished object. Shall I show it now or later? You know what? I'll show it later. Okay, so these are all the socks that I'm either knitting or planning or finished onto other projects with sock yarn. And I'll start with the smaller one, and that's the loop shawl I'm knitting by Stephanie Lopvin out of her book Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn. And I'm knitting this loop shawl. The ribbing is knit with the same blue out of the Beauty series by Opal, and the main color is this color, which is a special color that was dyed to be sold in Japan. So the KFS yarn is yarn that's being sold in Japan. You can see there are some Japanese characters, quite a few Japanese characters on the ball band. Yeah, and I'm really happy with that. So I knit quite a bit on that during the holidays. And I just love how the pattern comes out, how the colours move around, and there are patches with more white and lighter colours, and then patches with more of a bit darker colours, and then the white again. And I'm just really, really happy. And I think I will probably just knit the whole 100 grams, or maybe most of it. Maybe I'll keep 5 grams for my memories blanket. Maybe I'll just do the square from the other end so I know how much yarn I can knit into the cowl. Or maybe I'll just, yeah, when I think I will try and finish one of the pattern repeats. Yeah, that's what I'll do. And then there should be enough left to do a square in the blanket. Yeah, so that's the loop. Really happy with that. Then what else? I haven't knit on the glacier tunic or dress because I didn't take it with me. I did not take the square shrug with me, but I took the town square shawl, another Romy pattern, with me. But I took the project with me, but not the book with the pattern because I didn't want to carry so much stuff. And I thought I'd taken pictures of all the charts so I could knit while I was away, but I didn't. I did actually take a picture of the chart I was knitting on, but I forgot to take pictures of the other charts. So all I could do while I was on holiday was finish this chart with this diamond motif and these knops that are knit into the pattern. So that was quite fun to do. Yeah, but then once I'd finished that chart, I couldn't go on knitting. So this is going to be a triangular shawl. You start with that, with the main triangle knit from the top down. So you cast on all the stitches and then you do short rows. And then after the short rows, you attach like a lace border. I did a few rows in this bright green. And now this was one chart and this is another chart. The next chart is going to be a bit like this one, I think. And then there'll be another new pattern in the shawl. So it's really interesting to knit. As I say, I love her patterns and I'm looking forward to continue knitting on this now that I'm back, that I'm united with my book again. I'm using the subscription yarn by Opal. I swapped a few balls from the last package to get a second in this color and a second red one, so I can knit a bigger project with this color. And it's part of the pattern battle over on Ravelry. If you're interested in that, you can have a look there. Yeah, then on to some crochet projects. Most of the things I'm showing you I worked on during my holiday, but there was a week before I went on holiday, and part of the time I worked on the socks that I showed in the Sockmadness special, but I also worked on the Optic Blanket and on this crochet project, which is my crochet square pullover that I'm working on. And I thought it's been a while that I showed you the pieces. I'll just show them to you, show all of them to you. So that's the back. That was the first piece I finished. And then I crocheted 2 sleeves. That's one of them. And that's the other. As you can see, they're fairly short and small. And this is the front. That's what I worked on the week before I went on holiday. And I finished working the first ball of yarn. And this is what I have left from the second sleeve, and that should be enough to finish the front, as it took me 2 balls to knit the back and the first sleeve. So this is the size that the jumper is going to have. The sleeves will be attached like this, and because it's fairly wide, the sleeves don't have to be so wide and long. And also I stopped crocheting on the sleeve because I was running out of yarn and I didn't want to start a fifth ball of yarn. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to crocheting on that because I didn't have that with me during my holidays, so I haven't seen that for 2 weeks and can't wait to continue crocheting it. But another project I did take with me on holiday, and that's the test crochet that I'm doing for Heather from HG Designs Crochet, and she designed a jacket that's called Allsorts, and I'm allowed to test crochet it. And the last proper episode I showed you the yarn I was going to use for the jacket and also the first square that I crocheted. But after I finished doing the video, I went into my storage where I have all my yarn, and I wanted to get more of the yarn so I could start working on the jacket properly. And I realized I didn't have enough of the blue yarn that I was going to use. So my plan was to use this colorful yarn, and I did use that one, but then I wanted to use the blue yarn from the series Frozen, and I didn't have any anymore. The one I was using to do the first square was actually the only ball I had. So what I had mistaken for that color was actually this color. That's the same series as this color. So it's both Schneeglöckchen, which is those little flowers. And it's also blue, but it has a bit more gray and it has a bit more contrast in it. So I liked the other blue because it had less contrast. But I thought, well, if I don't have enough, can't use it. So I tried 2 squares with this color combination. I was still happy with it. So that's what I decided to do. And I took 2 balls of each color with me on holiday. That's 300 grams per color because those are 150 gram balls of yarn. And I managed to crochet all of the squares that I need. That's 18 squares. And I crocheted, how can I show you? Anyway, so I crocheted 3 rounds of the granny square with those 2 colors held double, and then I crocheted the 4th round with just the blue-gray held double. And then I used the 5th round to attach the squares to each other. And I managed to do quite a bit. As I said, I finished all the squares and then I started attaching them, and then I ran out of the blue yarn. so I couldn't go on during the holiday. And I think I will have to stand up and show you the whole thing that I've done so far. So this is one of the fronts, and this is the other front, and this is the back. And as you can see, the first 8 squares I was able to attach, and then I did manage to get the squares attached to the rest, but now I have to, oh yeah, this is where I stopped crocheting, and now I can, while I do the last round, I can attach all the squares. And now that I'm back with my other yarn, I can finish attaching all the squares together. Once I've done that, I can crochet the sleeves, and then I will crochet some ribbing at the lower end of the jacket and also on the fronts. It won't have any buttons, it's just to be worn open. Yeah, I can use a needle the way I'm doing with this jacket, or maybe I will even put some buttons on and just push them through the granny square edges, like, oh no, there won't be granny squares at the edge, there'll be a ribbing. I don't know yet. Probably I won't put buttons now, just wear it open. But I'm really happy with how this worked up. I'm using a 10mm needle. I always have to go up needle size to get the gauge that Heather gives in her patterns. But I'm really happy with the way they look and feel, and I just can't wait to work on that jacket, to continue working on it. Yeah, so that's the 2 crochet projects that I wanted to show you. Now I realize I almost forgot to show you the gnome. I started crocheting the Mystery Gnome, the new Mystery Gnome by Sarah Shearer from Imagine Landscapes. It's the 7th, if I'm not mistaken, and I've knit them all. I've knit all the Mystery Gnomes that she's published, and that one was a Mystery Gnome. Those 2 are Here We Gnome Again gnomes. That was the first pattern I bought, and then she started doing the Mystery Gnomes, and I just had to do them. So I have not yet knit yesterday's clue because we were traveling. I didn't get around to doing that, but I finished clue 1 and 2. No, I finished clues 1 to 3. So this must be clue 4 that I haven't done yet. So if you do not want to see what they look like, you have to look away in a moment. But I think if you are knitting along, you've probably done your clues because they're fairly small. Okay, so now I'm showing things. First clue consisted of these mystery things. So the Mystery Gnome is really very mysterious, and I have no idea what it is I've done. And then clue 2 was the beginning of the hat, and then clue 3 was continuing the hat. And this is what I've done so far, and now I hope that later today I will have the chance to do clue 4, and then can't wait to get the next clue. Okay, not showing anything anymore in case you were looking away. I'm using yarn by Wolldacke. It's hand-dyed yarn by a German hand dyer. Those are the 3 colors I'm using. They're really bright and crazy, but what should I use those minis for if not for a gnome? If anything can be crazy and bright, it should be a gnome, right? Anyway, in my world, gnomes can be really bright and crazy. So that takes us to the knit-alongs, and I'll start as usual with the Optic Blanket. I did not work on it a lot. I think last proper episode, I was knitting on this square. I finished it and I added one more. Now I can't remember. This is more than 2 weeks ago. So I think It could have been this one, it could have been this one, I don't know. But this is how far I got. I did not take it with me on holiday, so I'm really 2 squares behind. I will have to count the weeks that are still in the year to make sure that I can actually finish the blanket this year. So there'll be another 6 squares that I attach to these squares, and then I'll start the next bit of the blanket, and then I'll have 6 pieces that I want to seam together. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But still enjoy that. Look forward to doing more on that. And then the other knit along is the Geckolino, a little shawlette that we are knitting together. And that's one of the projects that I think it was a new project last proper episode, and I took it with me on holiday and I just finished it. And it's fairly small. I used up the whole 100 grams, and I actually ran out of yarn while I was casting off. And you can see a knot here because I don't usually knot my yarn, but when I cast on the stitches, my end was too long, so I cut a bit off because it just got in the way all the time. And I used that bit of yarn that I had cut off, I attached it with a knot, and I used it to cast off the last couple of stitches. And because I only got home last night, I had no time to block it, so that's what I will do as soon as possible. It's another Wolldackel yarn. It's their Aniva Navy colorway. Aniva is a word, means rainbow. And I just love the yarn. I think it looks beautiful. I'm looking forward to seeing how big this is going to get once it's blocked. I really like the construction of the shawlette, because if you put it on, it would just stay on your shoulders. It will not go anywhere. And even if it stayed this little, it would still be a nice little, just around your shoulder, around your neck shawlette. The ends are a little bit longer, so you can tie them like this, or you could bring them back and tie them in the back, and then you just have a warm neck. So yeah, so this is what it looks like not blocked. And then next week I'll show you what it looks like once it's blocked. Yeah, and that's everything. That's all the projects I knit on during the last 3 weeks. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!